Hello everyone, welcome back to the Gore Report. Been busy since the last time I saw you guys. Been kind of fighting some other stuff, family being sick and whatnot, so I haven't been able to work on the bike in one shot, so that's why I haven't done a whole video on everything that I've done, and I didn't honestly get a chance to do pieces. So I'm just going to recap what I've done so far. So the last time we spoke, I did diagnose that the relay, everybody calls it a solenoid, but I guess it's actually a relay for the starter, was no good. So I got that replaced. You can see it underneath there. It's underneath the seat. Ordered that from Hitchcock's, and shout out to Hitchcock's, guys. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that, but I ordered that. I actually ended up having to order a new starter as well because I tested mine and it would not spin hardly at all. So I don't know if it had like a burnt section in it or whatever. And for those of you who don't know how to test a starter, it's super simple. I'll kind of go over it real quick just so you kind of have an idea of what to do. But this is where the connections for the starter go. This guy that's covered up is the positive connection. The one that's right here, it's just attached to one of the bolts that attaches the starter to the motor. That's just a ground. So what I did was I took a couple leads, attached them to the battery, and saw if the starter spun or not. That's really the best way to do it in your garage. It doesn't have like a ton of torque where it's gonna fly out of your hands or anything like that. So don't be afraid of it, but that's what I did on mine, and it ended up not doing the trick. So I ordered a starter and the solenoid from Hitchcock's on, gosh, like a Sunday, and I got it on a Thursday. Those guys are quick, super easy to work with, and like I said, shout out to them. Obviously, I'm not, sponsored or anything. Just if you do have Royal Enfield part needs, I would highly recommend them. They're super easy to work with, shipped really quick. Everything showed up just like it was supposed to. So I got all of that stuff put back together. And so now, all right, so here's what we got now. Turn it on. Fuel pump is priming. The fuel light sorted itself out. I don't know if it maybe got gummed up, and then having some fresh gas in it helped out. I did put a little bit of, it's called Startron, if you've ever heard of it. It's a fuel additive that's actually an enzyme additive. It eats the ethanol in the fuel. Highly recommend that to you guys because ethanol is awful for motorcycle parts, especially if you have a carbed bike. It will gum everything up. It's really bad, nasty stuff. And I've had really good experience with the Startron stuff. It's a little blue bottle. I don't have it with me right now, but you can look it up. It's pretty, I think it's by Star Bright is the company. Been using that for quite some time. Obviously I use other, I'll use some other products too, but that stuff is really good for just removing the ethanol from the fuel. And now that we're on and everything looks good, here's what we got when we hit the starter button. Fires up. This guy is running. Sounded pretty healthy. Don't really have any issues with what it sounds like right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys on a little test ride and show you kind of what it looks like to cruise around the neighborhood in this guy. All right, so we're mounted up here. Get this thing in gear. And we're off, seeing how this guy goes. Definitely quite a lot more vibration than I'm used to on the Himalayan. I don't know too much about these bikes, if they're counterbalanced well or what, but man, this is kind of fun. This thing feels really small underneath you. This is the first time I've ever ridden one, and it really feels pretty comfortable to sit on. It's like you're sitting in a chair. So that's kind of cool. And we're just doing a light cruise to see what goes on. Looks like we don't have a speedo, so I'm gonna have to check the cable, see if it's frozen up or what's going on with that guy. Not sure, but it seems to be running pretty decent. Very easy to ride. Turn signals work. That's a good idea. Always a good thing to use those. I'm not gonna, beat it up too much or anything. We're just kind of seeing what feels good and what doesn't, but I don't really have any issues with what's going on. One thing I didn't mention that I did was I also bled the brakes out. That got rid of a ton of gunk that was in the master cylinder and through the lines. It was disgusting, like really gunked up, gelled up stuff. And the brakes seemed to loosen up. I did pull the caliper off, and the pistons were kind of gunked up with that stuff too. I don't know what kind of fluid they used, or if it just got contaminated, or what was going on with that, but that seemed to kind of solve the problem of the sticky brakes. So I don't really have any issues with it now, and the brakes seem to grab pretty good. So I'm gonna see how that goes for now, and if the problem presents itself another time, then we'll address it. But for now it seems like they're doing okay, so I'm not gonna mess with it since it's not broke. And it seemed like the bleeding did the job. These brakes are super easy to bleed, obviously. I mean, there's no ABS or anything to worry about. So it's just a matter of flushing the system out. But yeah, this thing is riding good, man. I think probably just sorting out the speedo issue, which has got to be a cable. These things are old school, and I know they use cable speedos, so it's probably frozen up, or maybe a gear broke, or I don't know what's going on with it. But the fuel light keeps popping on and off as I decelerate. You can kind of tell where the fuel gauge is then in the tank. But this thing has decent power too. It's not going to light the world on fire or anything, but that is it for now for me. I'm going to head back home and probably jump into, oops, got a neutral there. Did not mean to do that. But, I'm sure once I keep riding this thing, get some fluids going through it, I'm going to ride it around a little while longer after I work on the speedo cable, and then just do some little simple things, have to do an oil change, because, you want to, after you run it for a little while, to get all the contaminants out. But it's got oil in it and all that, so it should be good. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now, but pretty exciting stuff that we got this thing going, and you guys don't ever forget, even though it's cold right now, it's probably 30 degrees here, get out and ride anyway. Take it easy.